Welcome to episode 13 of Handmade by Susan. It's been so long since I've sat down in front of the camera to share with you some of the things that I've been working on. Just a quick reminder, I love all things crafty. So that includes knitting, sewing, quilting, crocheting, paper making, paper craft, anything you can think of, baking. I am interested in all things crafty. So in today's episode, I am going to take you through some of my recent knitting projects as well as cross-stitching. In previous episode, I talked about how I went down a rabbit hole with one of the soda patterns, and how I fell in love with cross-stitching. Now I continue to make pretty simple projects. I just don't have the courage to start something huge because I know I likely would not finish it. So I wanted to take you through some of the things that I've been working on, and you know, it is now February, so it's been raining quite a bit here in the Bay Area. So recently we had the opportunity to drive up to Lake Tahoe. And while we were there, it was snowing so much. So I really enjoy spending time in our little cabin with the fireworks going. And I did a lot of knitting when we were there on vacation. So let me just go ahead and get started. I have my notebook here. One of the first things that I finished, which you may have heard me talked about in every single episode, is my half and half triangle wrap. This is a free pattern by Pearl Soho, and I made this with the yarn that they suggested, which is linen quill. And I made it in both oatmeal gray and dark denim, and I used 2 skeins of each color. Now, the reason I was able to make this work with 2 skeins of yarn was because I cast on with 230 stitches instead of the number of stitches that the pattern suggested that you cast on with. Now, this is a free pattern, so I can go ahead and talk about it. But I love the colors, right? The denim blue as well as the gray. I think they just work so well together. I love the way it looks. I really enjoy this. You know, you could wear however you like. I know I'm not doing a great job with this. There's so many YouTube videos that talks about how to wear this. I should also mention that I did not knit the last 3 rows. I did not knit the last 3 stitches on each row, and that creates a neater edge, which I really enjoy. So just beautiful. I love this. It was a little challenging to block this because it's so big, and I didn't have enough of those foam blocks for the shawl for this project to lay flat on, right? So what I did was I used the foam board as the border, and the inside was hollow. There was nothing sitting. This project was not sitting on anything, right? And so I was able to stretch out the 4 sides of this half and half triangle wrap on the floor with pins, but I didn't have enough block for the center. So hopefully you know what I mean. I just had enough to go around the outside so I can stretch it out and pin it down. But the center was kind of on top of my hardwood floor, but it's okay because it's not sopping wet, right? Like I've squeezed out as much of the water as possible. I usually would take it out of the water and I will roll it inside a towel and just squeeze out as much water as I can. So by the time it's stretched out on the floor on my foam board, it's already pretty dry, right? So it dried up pretty quickly. I'm really happy with the way it came out, and it was knit on size 3 US needle on 32-inch circular. And starting another one, I feel like this is one of those projects where you just always have to have one on the go because so easy. You just keep knitting, right? So the next one that I'm working with is this color, which is also linen quill. It's called Pickle. I actually don't have the other color here because this is going to take me about 2 years to finish the pickle green before I get to the other color. The other color is actually called reed gray, which is also kind of like the oatmeal gray that I showed you earlier. So it's going to be this green with the oatmeal color, and I think this is just such a beautiful color. And I'm really enjoying working with that yarn. So that's my second half and half triangle wrap, and let me show you how much progress I've made. this is how much progress I've made. I've really not been working on this at all. I've been super into knitting all the accessories, so hats, socks, which I'll show you. Hence, there's not been much progress with this second half and half triangle wrap. So because of this trip that I mentioned to Lake Tahoe, I feel like anytime we go anywhere as a family, you know, to where there's snow, I have to make them something. So I knew I didn't have enough time to make my kids matching sweaters like I had previously done. I decided to make them hats. So this is the first hat I wanted to show. It's the Muscle Bro hat by Yosoda T. This is highly raved across the internet and social media. There are thousands of projects, right? It's basically, I can't open this because I've secured it with the pom-pom, but you're supposed to be able to pull the inside out, and it's basically a huge tube, right? And you just stick one end of the hat to the other end. So it's double-sided, and you can fold up the rim if you want to. This is from my daughter, and it's made with Miss Bab yarn. So this is deep stash yarn that I think I bought maybe 15 years ago, and I never knew what to do with this yarn, right? Because it's not really sock yarn. I don't know if it has enough nylon in there to really be a pair of socks. And I only got one skein, which I didn't know what to do with. So this hat was the perfect project. Now, I enjoy working with this hat because it's almost like sock knitting, right? It's very simple, you know, decrease and increase on each end. So basic, but it doesn't wear very well. There's not enough stretch to this. My gauge is right? I forget what size needle I use, but it's exactly what the pattern called for. My gauge is exactly what the pattern suggested, but there's just not enough stretch. Like, it just sat so awkward on my daughter's head, and it just wasn't very comfortable. So I don't think I'll be making any more of this. I don't even know I'm gonna keep this because it's just, I don't know. I also made a hat for my husband, and this is the pattern I use is the classic rib hat by Pearl Soho. I made this with a US size 3 needle with Rowan alpaca soft DK from my local yarn shop, and I used 2 skein of it. And I will tell you, I am absolutely in love with this yarn. I wish you could feel how soft this is. And because this is rib, it's super stretchy, right? It's like so stretchy, so comfortable, so soft. It blocked out so nicely. Huge fan, love this. And my husband wears this folded up, right? And I obviously had this all washed and blocked after we came back from our skiing adventure because it was just so dirty. So these are all freshly blocked. Now, this is the hat for my son. It is the same pattern, but kid size, right? So it's also rib. And this yarn was purchased from Pearl Soho, and it's the Pearl Soho Yonder yarn. So I just used 1 skein, US 4, super warm. This hat kept my son very warm, very stretchy because it's rib again. So very happy with these 2 rib hats that I made. And Muscle Bro, it's okay. I enjoy making it. Is it the most comfortable hat? Not so much, but yeah, you may disagree. I've also been super into sock knitting. Now, I've always loved making socks, but with self-striping socks, super simple socks, I've always just kept things really simple, right? So here's an example of one that I'm currently making. And it's I think you've all seen this yarn. It is the WYS. I bought it from Woolly Thistle, right? It's one of their holiday patterns. And again, this is deep stash yarn. I must have had this for 5 years. And we were in a pinch because I really wanted lots of sock projects with me when I went on our vacation, various vacations, Hawaii, Lake Tahoe. So I wanted something simple, you know, good for beach knitting, snow knitting. And so I just grabbed this, and I'm really happy with this orange that I picked out for the cuff, heels, and toes. Really love it, right? So I actually finished a pair when we were on our trip. So it came out great. I usually cast on 64 stitches I always knit with US 1 32-inch circular needle, Chalgu, those are my favorite. And Susan B. Anderson, How I Make My Sock, is my favorite go-to pattern. I only make her pattern. I had so much yarn left over that I think I can make a second pair. So I know it's kind of boring because you're making the same thing twice, but I'm a process knitter. Like, I don't mind the stitches, and I truly enjoy simple knitting, as you can see with the half and half triangle wraps. It doesn't bother me. I love the simplicity, and I'd rather just finish up the yarn than to stash it away again. Like, I finally took this out after 5 years. I'm not putting it back in the bin, right? So I'm just gonna finish it. So I'm going to have 2 pairs of socks with this one skein. Obviously, the second sock, I'm going to make it a little shorter, right? Just in case if I don't have enough, right? So this is gonna be a little shorter, but it doesn't really make a difference. I usually just, it's a gut feeling for how long I wanna make it. Now, what I'm most excited to share with you is, in the past, I've been really into just simple sock making, but in the last few weeks, I was introduced to Summer Lee, right? So look her up on YouTube if you don't already know her. She's all about color work, color sock knitting, and her pictures and color scheme and the designs are just so vibrant and cheerful and happy, right? I know it's a simple word, but it just makes you so happy. So I decided, so I binge watched all her episodes, and she talked about how Knit Pick Stroll solid colors are her favorite go-to yarn for sock knitting. So I just placed an order for like a bunch of different colors, right? And I just went to town. I purchased her little boxes sock pattern. And again, I made it with US size 1 needle, and I finished this project, right? So I use, as you can see, I use pink, gold, and green. I don't remember the exact name, but you can find these on Knit Pick's website. They came out so cute. I am so in love with them. So simple to make. Now, I normally make my socks on US 1 32 circular magic loop, right? Magic loop was a little difficult with color work, right? Because when you get to the end of each half around, you kind of have to guess how tight or loose to make the flow, right? And so I did my best, but it was still a little bit uneven. So I decided to try with those super short circular where the needles are really short. I know because I've tried it before, and I wasn't a fan because it made my hands cramp, but I thought I would just give it another try. Maybe something changed, right? No, I dislike it as much as I did previously. And Summer actually suggested that you purchase a version of Addie's short circular needle where one of the needle is longer than the other one. Now, I found it at Amazon, but just to warn you, there's only like a few left, right? And I had to search pretty hard to find it, and I waited quite a bit, like much longer than my normal prime time for this special circular needle to be delivered. But it works. It works. Is it the best thing? Not really, but it works better. It works better than your normal short needle, right? So this is the second pair that I'm making. So I basically just have like a bunch of like, you know, different colors. You know, you don't need much. But I did place a order with Knit Picks. But basically, hopefully, let me show you. So you got one end that's short, right? Hopefully you can see that. And then the other end that's longer, right? And so this way you can make this in one round, right? So you don't have to do the magic loop where you have to constantly pull your yarn. The needle is called the Easy Knit Rocket, right? By Addie, right? Hard to find. I don't know if it's all that amazing. I still prefer knitting magic loop on my 32 Chalgu needle. But I just thought this is just slightly easier without constantly having to deal with the float when you reach the end of the round. But like I said, I'm still not 1000% convinced that this is the best needle for color work on socks with such a small circumference. But I should also mention that as I was making this pair of sock, I was trying it on along the way because of the way you construct the heel. It's better if you try it on because then you know when to cast off, right? When I was knitting this and trying it on, I could not get this over my ankle. My daughter was laughing at me because she watched me struggle as I tried to pull up my ankle, and then I would continue to knit. And she would ask me, "Mommy, why are you still working on your sock if you know it's not going to fit you?" I just looked at her and I said, "Because the colors are so beautiful. I really want to finish it." And so I finished one sock and then the other sock. And my daughter couldn't believe it. She's like, "You knew it wouldn't fit. You didn't finish one, but you finished the whole pair." And I said, "Yeah, I always finish what I started, even though I know it doesn't fit me." And so because it's so beautiful, I went ahead and blocked it because, as you know, when you work with Colorworks, you really need to block it to truly appreciate its beauty. Now, after I blocked it, this pair of socks fit me perfectly, right? So I just want to mention that just in case if you end up working with Colorwork pattern and as you're working on it, it doesn't fit you, don't give up, because after you block it, I guess everything just loosen up and gets to its place, and somehow it just all ends up working out really well and it will actually fit you. So I showed it to my daughter and I said, "See, I told you." And so she's asking if the second pair could be for her, and she's laughing that maybe it wouldn't fit her as I'm working on it. But this is, I made this exactly the same size as the other one, and I think if anything, it may be a little loose on my daughter, but it's okay. As we know with kids, they only grow into things. So when in doubt, make it bigger, right? So I think that's it from my knitting and yarn purchases and whatnot. I do want to share with you my cross stitches, because my cross stitch projects, because I think they're quite cute. So like I said, I didn't want to make anything major or, you know, huge commitment, large pieces. I just knew I wouldn't finish it. So I got introduced to these little people pattern, and I bought this from Amazon, and it's one of those dimensions kits, right? So you buy it, it comes with the pattern. It gives you some, you know, various DMC threads, the what do you call it, the canvas, whatever they're called. I know they have a name. They're not called canvas, but the fabric that you stitch on. So I followed the pattern, the direction, sorry for the crinkling sound, and I made a family portrait, which I thought was super cute. So this is a little picture of our family, and I block out the name, apologies. I just thought it came out so cute. I love it. So I made that, and I made a couple more for different families and friends. And during the holiday season, I actually made them for my kids' teachers. So I would customize the little people for the teacher based on what they typically wear, their hair, and I'll have a little blackboard next to it with, you know, ABCs or 1, 2, 3, and then I'll put their last name on the bottom, and I will frame it. And I already gifted those, and if I had it, I would show it to you because I thought they were really cute. Now, for those that I made, I used this book. So this pattern is quite limited, right? So you only get these little people there. And after a while, I got bored, right? You know, for example, there's only a couple of kids, like maybe 2 kids, you know, and then like 1 baby or something, right? Which is great when you're first starting and you really only want to make 1 or 2, but I was addicted and I wanted to make more. So I bought this whole book called Stitch People. And this book is amazing. If you love cross stitching and you love a small project, fast to finish, very small commitment, I highly recommend it. So let me just show you a couple examples. So, you know, these are all the faces that are available for female. So many pages, pages and pages and pages, right? Body, right? They even have pregnant bellies. Children's bodies. Pets, right? I think these are cats. These are dogs, right? And one of my kids' teacher loves cats. So I chose a cat. I think that looks like the cat that she owns. There's graduations, right? So I hope I'm not giving anything away. I don't think I am. I'm going through them really quickly. So hopefully that the author doesn't get angry at me, but I just wanted to show that this is such an amazing book, right? I highly suggest you purchase it if you're interested. I think it was, I can't exactly remember how much I paid for. I got it off Amazon. Highly recommend it. Like, I can't tell you how much fun I've had. I would sit down with my kids and I would open up the page for example, you know, woman, and I would ask them, which of these do you think looks like teacher XYZ, right? And they would tell me, oh, it's this one. And I would open up a page with, you know, clothing, and I would ask them, what does your teacher always wear? And they would tell me, oh, this one, right? And so the entire little people that I cross-stitch is basically like them with their last name on the bottom. So it's a really cute, personalized handmade item that doesn't take very long, but super fun. And sometimes when I make things, I try not to accumulate them all within my house. Like, what am I going to do with all these cross stitches, and what am I going to do with all this yarn and knitting that I do, right? So I always like to make sure there's a purpose, right? And I think this is also why I enjoy the half and half triangle wrap, because it just takes forever. You can knit and knit and knit for the next 5 years, and it's one project, right? My problem with socks is I knit them so fast that I'm afraid that I will have more socks than I would ever know what to do with, right? I try to give them away, but it gets to a point where people look at you and they're like, I can't take any more socks from you, right? So my half and half triangle wrap is just like my go-to. I know it's okay to knit because it's going to take me a long time to finish it. The one I showed you, that's the linen gray combined with the denim blue, took me 2 years. It took me 2 years to finish them, and I'm a fast knitter. So if you're a fast knitter, don't know what to work on, and I don't really want to deal with garment, right? Because I just, I pick it up, I put it down, pick it up, I put it down. Sometimes I'll pick it up and put it down and not work on it for 3-4 months, right? I really don't want to go back to my garment and try to remember, like, what was I working on? Has my tension changed? And I feel like something really simple, like a wrap, it doesn't really matter, right? It's like sock. It's endless. You just keep working on it. So those were the things that I wanted to share with you, you know, really enjoying cross-stitching and knitting all the accessories. And I know many of you do knitting and cross-stitch podcasts. Can I just tell you, like, I have no problem like gathering up everything and come here and share with you, but I do not like putting them all back. It's a lot of work to put these things all back to where you got them from, right? And sometimes I just want to leave them all here and not deal with it. But I know I can't, because my children will start playing with them and I would never find them again. So with that said, I just want to say thank you so much for checking me out if you are new here. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back and having a listen to all the things that I have had to share with you. I'm going to go clean up here, and I hope it's not going to be so many months before I come back and do a quick update. Hope you're well. Thanks so much. Bye.